So that, I'm sure, has not taken 2 minutes. You gave us 20. We can still work with 18 or 15. So I am here with some of the national team, and in Maendeleo we work on regional balance. So I have representation from Nyanza, she will speak, the national secretary. I have secretariat here from Eastern. I have Rift Valley, national vice chair. I have Coast, national vice chair. I have national treasurer, and I have Mount Kenya represented at the end. So basically we are 5 regions here on behalf of the 8. So then allow me to start. His Excellency Honorable Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka in absentia.
Please avoid those protocols.
We avoid those protocols.
Yeah,
we
just go straight.
But then we'll still say leader of majority, because we are happy to have you there, and Wandai, and then we continue. Our preamble. Maendeleo is an ungovernmental organization which seeks to nurture and empower women through various capacity building interventions that promote women's rights and sustainable livelihoods in the society. Maendeleo turned 70 years, somebody raised the book, turned 70 years last year, and it is the oldest and largest women organization in Kenya. It is a unique national women grassroots NGO with organization structures in every administrative unit in Kenya, over 17,000 elected leaders, and we have over 4 million members and about 25,000 affiliated women groups. The organization is managed from the headquarters by an elected National Steering Committee and a secretariat. The CEO is here and our team, ended from headquarters by the National Chairperson. Considering our large grassroots membership and presence, we give this submission as a representation of all our members and indeed the women of Kenya. And we do own the 2 women there, Mama Wabulianga and Mama Mnazi. You are our members, you are our sisters, and we are happy to have you there. We then thank the National Dialogue Committee, NADCO, for inviting us to give this presentation today as stakeholders, and we commend this committee for establishing this consultative process. Maendeleo indeed has been on record constantly calling for a national dialogue, because it is undeniable that dialogue and consultation among Kenyans is crucial for promotion of peace and national unity. We as mothers and custodians of the family will always call for dialogue, as we do in our homes. This submission is on behalf of then the team I've talked about, NSC, as I've introduced the members, the board, which is 58 members, basically 47 county chairs and 11 national officials. It is the biggest board, I'm sure, in this country. The annual general meeting, AGM, which is about 800 members and will be meeting later in the year. Message from our patron, Mama Phoebe Asio, who is abroad, and greetings from the acting patron, Mama Zibora Kitoni. So I go then straight to recommendations of the agenda set out by this committee. Number 1, electoral justice and related matters. Restructuring and reconstitution of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, the IEBC. We support restructuring and reconstitution of IEBC and addressing gaps that we have identified as follows. Number 1, the Secretariat. The IEBC Secretariat should undergo capacity building given the sensitivity of their job. The Secretariat needs to win public confidence that is professional, inclusive, and impartial. IEBC Commissioners Selection Panel. The selection panel should be agreed upon by all players. It should be inclusive and open with the selection process, as well as commit to selecting highly competent commissioners that Kenyans have confidence in. I dare then say, Maendeleo has already presented itself. They wrote to us, the current team, and we gave our views. That is on record. Civic education. IEBC should be funded sufficiently and in a timely manner to educate the public on the election processes. which we feel was not conclusively done in the last 2 elections, 2017, 2022. I am not even sure whether it was done properly in 2013. Boundaries delimitation. We recommend for boundaries delimitation to be carried out as constitutionally required, but ensure other aspects other than population are taken into consideration, because what we normally hear, we only hear more about the numbers in some constituencies, and we do not hear ethnicity taken into consideration, geographical size, common interests, and history of marginalization. We are aware some are in the Constitution, but we want to emphasize. Remember, we are women and we are married cross-board, so we also have a bit of this information. Audit of the 2022 presidential election. We are on record many times calling for dialogue, as I've said, and now that this bipartisan team is already working, I am sure this committee will get a solution. Therefore, our feeling as a mother institution is we leave this matter to His Excellency the President, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, CGH, President of the Republic of Kenya, Commander-in-Chief of the Defense Forces, and the former Prime Minister, Raila Amolo Odinga, to now deal with that matter. Maendeleo views, we don't want to dig deep into that. In future, we therefore then recommend upcoming elections, we support an audit of the elections to be carried out within 3 months after inauguration of the elections. That then, within 3 months after inauguration, we can be done with auditing and the country can go back to work. Outstanding constitutional matters. Article 43 of the Constitution, the cost of living and related issues. Current economic situation has families struggling to meet daily needs due to high food prices and other basic needs and high unemployment. We therefore then give the following recommendation. We would appreciate a separation of matters to do with cost of living and politics, because cost of living is affected by other external factors, such as we had a prolonged drought. We even witnessed the war Ukraine just did not start, but we saw politics playing in. As mothers, we strongly speak out against our children being reduced to voters and wish to see them benefit from the votes they cast. We therefore recommend that county governments should spearhead job creation, as this was the intention of devolution, which Maendeleo was completely involved in, of resources to be utilized in poverty alleviation. This is how we can therefore address the presence of poverty in Kenya 60 years after independence. Promoting national unity and inclusivity in public appointments and adequate checks and balances. We give the following recommendations to address the issues of governance, impunity, and independent institutions, constitutionalism, and the rule of law in Kenya. We propose the following. Civic education programs that raise public awareness about the importance of good governance, the rule of law, and accountability. Incorporation and entrenchment of national values, and the women here, please hear us. Entrenchment of national values into school curriculums from an early age. What we are seeing today in values can only be healed if we start from the bottom, and therefore we hope that you can hear us here as mothers. Emulate institutions that are practical examples of inclusivity. For instance, Maendeleo here practices inclusivity in their models, and we have brought you all the documents. I think somebody should take them over for them to look at as we continue talking. Separation of governance and politics. Fidelity of political, or separation of governance and politics. Fidelity of political parties, coalitions, and law on multi-party democracy. I continue? Yes. Preventing interference with political parties stroke coalitions. Recommendation. Enforce transparency and accountability measures for elected officials. Political parties requiring them to disclose their funding sources, expenditures, and activities to the public. Entrenching funds into the Constitution. the National Government Constituency Development Fund. We support the entrenchment of the National Government Constituency Development Fund and GCDF in the Constitution and recommend the following changes. And those in front of us, many are MPs. So we recommend here, please, that ensure women representation in the CDF, incorporating grassroots leaders such as Maendeleo Wanawake, right from the ward and other players, sub-counties or county chairs. Women in church, we have women in Mothers Union, very good leaders, women in the Catholic Women Association, the Women Guild, and even women in the mosque, our Muslim sisters. Retired teachers in their bursary committees. A practical example is Maendeleo chairs who sit in the county anti-corruption civilian oversight committees. We are in 40 counties and we do a lot of work. The fund should address social issues such as teenage pregnancies and vulnerable children such as orphans. I dare say, and here's mothers, that our girls, we are number 3 in the world for girls giving birth at 13 years, and that then leaves them to be grandmothers at 26 years. That none of you want to see in your homes, even from your children. So we are asking for a lot of listening into this. The National Government Affirmative Action Fund, we support the entrenchment of the National Government Affirmative Fund, GAF, in the Constitution and recommend the following change. Engagement of grassroots leaders, women community leaders in programs supported this fund. My sisters who are in the women leadership, we want to feel the impact of the numbers we have, so that then the journey Maendeleo has worked for 70 years starts to get some fruits. The fund to address very specific issues like drug and substance abuse, and also the teenage pregnancies we are talking about. It is not nice to hear we are number 3 in the world. That talks about the country we are starting to be. The Senate Oversight Fund, we support the entrenchment of the Senate Oversight Fund in the Constitution because the Senate plays a critical role in overseeing funds allocated to counties, just like we have supported the other one. A constitutionally established Senate Oversight Fund would ensure that Senate has the necessary resources to fulfill its duties and effectively. The rider here, however, all these funds must have an impact at the grassroots. We must feel the results because we are all here based on the grassroots. Establishment and entrenchment of state offices, the office of the leader of the official opposition. We support establishment and entrenchment of the office of the official opposition for enhanced political stability and oversight of government. The office of the cabinet secretary, we too support establishment and entrenchment of the office of the prime cabinet secretary. Ensure effective service delivery and governance. Before I go to conclusion, I am sure I've not done 10 minutes. I then want to pose a question. On Monday, we were 12 years after we lost Professor Wangari Maathai, our very icon. In 2007, 2008, some of us were in that journey. She called us in our Green Belt movement, and I say this with absolute humility. It is not part of this document. But if I don't say it, we will not be doing justice to Professor Wangari Maathai. All of us in international forums, we talk about her. So what I pose for you here, this committee, is that when Professor called us 2007, 2008, it was during the Kofi Annan negotiating team which was going on in Serena. And she was there herself, the late patron, our patron, Mama Jane Kiano, Professor Jiko Kabira, this can be checked from her, Rose Waruhio, Enda Gashukia, and myself. And what Professor suggested to us is that Kenya needed a prime minister to avoid a lot of things we see going into the future. I rest my case. I do not want to say much, but having come from a woman of our structure who is not with us today, who talked to Kenyans about climate change and the world that we never had, today we see where we are. So using her again, I pose to say that came from her, and I think we need to throw it to you. We are mothers and will tell you with absolute truth and sincerity. In conclusion, in summary, Maendeleo therefore expresses appreciation for the National Dialogue Committee, endeavors and eagerly anticipates the committee's development of approaches that encourage positive political involvement, as well as the promotion of peace, reconciliation among the populace following the post-2022 general polarization in the country and into the future. And with those many remarks, I thank you, and may the good Lord bless you.
Thank you very much, the chairperson and your team, for a very concise presentation. We feel that our work is enriched by a very invaluable presentation. Unless there's any other question from our side, we shall be... Okay, Honorable Wambilanga.
Not really a question. Thank you so much, Chair. Just a comment. I want to commend the team for the recommendations that you have brought forth. We fully associate ourselves with, as actually me and my sister here,